Who is Luis Matos? The Cardinals have a new closer in town. Join us for a gripping episode where we provide you with the best must-add players heading into the weekend on this action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, here as always with my brother, my partner in crime, my best friend, Matthew Ane.
Yo, guys, let's have a good one today.
You can find us on all social media platforms and podcasting apps. And if you're listening on one like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. It helps to grow the podcast. And, just a big help to Locked On Fantasy Baseball. And also, if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, you hit that little bell below. It subscribes you to the channel, also gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And once again, if you're on YouTube watching, be sure to like and comment because we love to talk fantasy baseball with you. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay's guaranteed fit. Head to ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Locked On Fantasy Baseball fans, we have a fully loaded episode for you today. As always, let us be your team secret weapon as we provide you with the best must-add players heading into this weekend. And Matt, we got a young gun. All these young guns keep getting called up. So who is he? Let's talk about him.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, before we do, though, I want to wish Dom a happy birthday. He's no longer a young gun. He is now officially in his 30s, being 31. So, I have a cane in the mail for you. So, it's coming. Yeah,
Appreciate it, brother.
You join me. Thank you. You join me. You get your AARP card real soon.
It's coming. It's coming.
But all right, back to your regularly scheduled show here. And let's talk about Luis Matos. An interesting call-up from the San Francisco 49ers. Giants. Football on the brain. So anyway, my guy is interesting, right? It hasn't been a name that's been like really floating out there all that much, but he has been a higher end prospect. But I'm excited to see what he can do, right? He had a pretty good 2023. He had 223 at bats. He had 39 runs. He had 13 doubles. 2 triples, 10 bombs, 38 ribs, 15 stolen bases, and he walks 24 times to 20 strikeouts, batting about 350 on the year. I love those numbers. I think Matos has some exciting upside. I like what he did in 2022 between a couple levels here, and my guy did have a really good year. He had 376 at bats. He had 58 runs, 15 doubles, a triple, 12 bombs, 47 ribs, 11 stolen bases. And his batting average wasn't wonderful, but it seems like he's improved on it and learned how to, get that plate control up. Matos could be very volatile. He could be somebody that 100% flops or somebody that can hit. The thing is, he's also hitting half of his games over in San Francisco, which the park isn't great to hit in. But, hey, he's worth, at least in my opinion, how do we put this? A speculative ad. Let's see what he becomes. Let's see what he can do. And if he flops, you drop him. But if he hits, you look like a genius. And that's essentially how I'm going to approach Luis Matos in all platforms, whether it's a 15-man, 10-man, et cetera. Matos should be added on speculative terms because, hey, he has a stolen base upside. He's hitting, pretty great. And his walk to strikeout ratio is great, and his batting average is phenomenal. And he follows my rule of batting average off the waiver wire. Even though he hasn't done that in the bigs, Matos still falls in that category for me. So 100% take a look at him. And if you feel the need like I do, add Matos.
Yeah, Luis Matos, he's not a big boy at 5'11", 160, but we've seen players like this be successful in the bigs, like a Jose Altuve type. He definitely has the speed, which he's more known for. In his first 2 years in the minors, in 2019 and 2021, he had 21 steals each of those years. Speedy guy. Luis Matos hit second in the San Francisco Giants' first game that he appeared in, so that shows that they have faith in him. He's hitting right ahead of Tyro Estrada, who's having a breakout year, so he's going to have a decent amount of runs. He's going to steal some bases for you. And the batting average definitely looks pretty solid. As Matt mentioned, the plate discipline's good, so I think that batting average could stay up. Right now, Matos, as of this recording, is 25% owned on Yahoo. I think that's going to fly up. He was picked up in all of my leagues that he wasn't already owned in early this morning, so people are already on top of it. Give Matos a chance. Speedy guy, outfield eligible for the San Francisco Giants, and he hit second in his debut, so definitely an interesting name to pick up. Let's talk about somebody we actually talked about last year, and it's Joc Suwinski. If you're not familiar with Joc Suwinski, outfielder for the Pittsburgh Pirates, not really a batting average guy, but the power is real for Suwinski. So far in the year, he's hitting .253 with 15 homers, 35 RBIs, and 6 steals, also 29 runs. I like Suwinski. He's not going to, be a league winner or anything like that. I think the batting average comes down to earth because he's never really shown batting average in his, minor league career, no less his major league career. Last year, he hit .202, and in the minors over his career, he was about like a 240-ish hitter. So I think the batting average is going to live in that maybe like 230, 240 range. But, he's had some pretty decent power seasons in the minors for, Joc Suwinski. So if you're in the need of power, he's been hitting like 5th or 6th in that, even 3rd a couple of times in that Pittsburgh Pirates lineup, which is decent. They're serviceable. Give Suwinski a chance. Once again, more of a power guy than anything else. Doesn't really have too much speed. So if you need a power in your lineup, add Joc Suwinski. Oh, wait, real quick. And he's 37% owned on Yahoo.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Jack is good. I think you did a good take on him. I don't really need to say anything else on him. I think I'm just going to move on. All right.
Yes,
let's talk about Mr. Joc Pederson. Joc, we should all know, another San Francisco Giant here. Worked his way into being an all-star last year. Dealt with some injuries that set him back. But I like Joc. I think he's, doing his thing over the last week with 7 runs, 2 bombs, 6 ribs, batting .455. His numbers on the year aren't atrocious either. They're not blowing me away either in the counting stats categories, but 20 runs, 7 bombs, 24 ribs, and about 286 batting average. I love the batting average. It's my rule. Batting average off the waiver wire is a must add. Plus, with the upside of Joc Pederson having the power capability where he can hit you 30 bombs if he does somehow manage to play a full season. So Joc Pederson does have that upside. Outfield has been a little rough this year too, depending on who you place your bets on. Joc Pederson can be that influx in that outfield, especially in five outfield leagues. So definitely take a look at Joc Pederson.
Yeah, if there's anyone that could hit for power besides Barry Bonds in, San Francisco, it's Joc Pederson. He's a big dude at 6'1", almost 230 pounds. And last year, I think he made a change. Last year, Joc Pederson, he went from his usual 240 batting average. He hit 274 last year over 134 games, 380 at-bats. This year, he's hitting 286 over 33 games and 105 at-bats. So I think Joc Pederson made a change where he said, I'm not just going to swing for the fences. I'm going to, throw a little bit of batting average into my game. The counting stats aren't going to blow you away in that San Francisco lineup. But as I mentioned, he's got light tower power, and the plate discipline's been pretty solid this year with 18 walks to 26 strikeouts. So like I said, I think the batting average improvement could stick. This year, he dealt with a couple of injuries. He had a wrist issue and a hand issue. So hopefully those things are getting better. And, you're going to see, young Joc hit for, a decent amount of power here going into, the rest of the season if he could stay healthy. But up next, we're going to talk about, somebody that's been around the league for a few years. He's starting to turn the corner and come back. We got the new closer in town for the St. Louis Cardinals. And we got one of Matt's boys from the Miami Marlins that he's starting to look like he did at the end of last year, starting pitcher. But first, guys, today's episode is sponsored by the clothing company Bird Dogs. Looking for clothes that redefine comfort and style? Look no further than Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs makes you look good. Bird Dogs stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you that truly sculpted look. They fit way better than regular shorts. They are made of a stiff restricting cotton. Bird Dogs fixed this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice the movement. Bird Dogs uses an anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long, especially in the heat of the summer. Bird Dog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but they fit way better. Bird Dogs just sent Matt and I some shorts, and as I said, I got some new ones on the way, still haven't arrived yet. And, they are getting compliments all over the place. I know Matt was saying the same thing when he wears his. And if you want to do the same, go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. And when you enter the promo code LockedOnMLB, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. And as always, we want to thank our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. Be sure to be on the lookout for a new episode tomorrow where we talk about must-add pitch and ditch arms, and also we'll throw in a couple of 2-star pitchers for next week. And also, real quick, guys, we're almost at 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we couldn't have done it without you. If you enjoy our show and want to help us out, please share our podcast with a few friends who also love fantasy baseball or just baseball in general. We'd be truly, truly grateful for your support. So, Matt, that's once again a mouthful for me there. If you want to grab this next guy, I would truly appreciate it, brother.
No problem. You should be used to it by now.
I'm getting there. That new Bird Dogs ad got me a little bit. I won't lie.
I'm just talking about your mouth being full. But, yeah. Oh. All right, let's move on here. Let's talk about Mr. Joc Bell. Joc Bell is playing so-so. This is how I'm going to put it, right? But on the year, he's not having atrocious numbers either. He has 212 at bats. He has 14 runs. He has 14 doubles, which is a weird number here. I guess every hit he had this year was every run was a double. 6 bombs, 31 ribs, 31 strikeouts to 50 strikeouts, 31 walks to 50 strikeouts, and batting about 241. I like him as a total. We all know what he did a few years ago, so he's interesting. Plus, his last week, five runs, 2 bombs, 4 ribs, batting about 333. So maybe he's turning around. He's getting hot. I don't think Joc Bell is that blow you away player that he was in 21, where he had the 27 home run season, batted about 261, and was on that Washington team for a little bit. Joc Bell, I don't think, is there anymore at age 30. He's pretty much on the end of his career, in my opinion. But I'm willing to ride the wave while he's hot because, hey, 1, he fits the batting average thing. 2, he can provide power for when he could stay healthy. So Joc Bell is definitely somebody I'm considering to add. And he has first base eligibility, if I remember correctly, which he does.
Yes, sir.
Vinny Pasquantino went down, so he could be a nice short-term Band-Aid for you until you can find a long-term solution. So definitely take a look at Joc Bell.
Yeah, big shout out to the Italian Breakfast, Vinny P. He's going down with season-ending shoulder surgery. If you have Vinny P in redraft, unfortunately, he's a cut at this point. And keeper dynasty, if you have a lot of keepers, maybe you hold on. But even at that point, it's a little bit tough to justify, carrying Vinny P anymore. But Matt, like you kind of said there, which I think is a big key thing. If you have Vinny P, and you really don't have anybody else on your team, Joc Bell's 38% owned. Joc Bell's a career 261 batting average guy, and he's got lights out power. The dude is a monster of a man at 6'4", 261. So if there's anything that Joc Bell is going to do, it's going to hit for power. That Cleveland lineup isn't atrocious, but it's not great. They're kind of middling. Joc Bell's not really going to have a lot of runs, but I think he can help you in bombs. He can help you in RBIs, and he's not going to kill you in batting average. He is almost a plus batting average guy at 261. So he's going to help you in 3 out of the 5 major categories. I really like Joc Bell. Matt mentioned his stats over the last week or so. Since he's been back in that lineup, I believe he was dealing with an injury there for a little bit. Not exactly sure what it was, but in his last 2 games, multi-hit games in both, bombs in both, Joc Bell could be ready to go on a nice little hot streak here. So Joc Bell is definitely somebody that you want to add. First base eligible, 38% owned on Yahoo. But going to keep things pushing here, and let's talk about somebody you may not be as familiar with. Another guy that's got a first base eligibility, I believe, and that's Ryan O'Hearn. I'm not a big Ryan O'Hearn guy, not super familiar with Ryan O'Hearn. So I'm kind of just going to, vibe things out here a little bit if it's okay with you folks and if it's okay with my internet as well. So O'Hearn is first and outfield eligible. He's in Baltimore. He's hitting fourth in that lineup, which is a very, very good lineup, one of the best lineups in baseball at the moment. The guy's been red hot recently. I'll read you his season stats first. He's batting .319 with 5 homers, 19 RBIs, 11 runs. And let's give you over the past week, too, because I know he's been literally on fire of late. And he's only 7% owned. Ryan O'Hearn's only 7% owned on Yahoo over the last week. 5 runs, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, 375 batting average. And if you play in an OPS league, a 1.257 OPS over the last week for O'Hearn. I mean, at this point, if you lost Vinny P and you don't want to add Josh Bell, Ryan O'Hearn is another fantastic guy you can juice the orange with at 7% owned on Yahoo. I think he needs to be a little more highly owned than the 7%. I would say he needs to be around like 40% at this point. Like I said, and he's a big boy too. I didn't even realize this. He's a big lefty at 6'3", 220. He's 29 years old, a little bit older of a guy to have turned his career around after struggling most of his career in Kansas City. I think he's worth the ad for now if you need that first base help.
Yeah, great take, Dom. Great take. Honestly, I have nothing to add other than hey, I liked what you said. Let me move on here. Let's talk about a closer here, Mr. Giovanni Gallegos. Gallegos blew a save today. So here's he did. The thing about Gallegos is there is nobody there right now that I can think of that can take the job out from under him at the moment. And he had 5 Ks over the last month. I mean, not 5 Ks, 5 saves. So, Gallegos has been given the opportunity in high leverage situations. So Gallegos seems to be the guy until he's not, and he completely works himself out of the job. He keeps blowing these saves, and you will find somebody else to do it, but then we will have that guy for you teed up. But right now, Gallegos is that guy, because right now it's not looking hot for Helsley. My guy looks like, unfortunately, he's going to have TJ. So you never want to hear that they're going for a second image, because that means they already told him TJ. So it's imminent, that news. Yeah, the news is imminent. So unfortunately, Helsley recovered nicely. I'm sorry for that. It explains your poor play, at least. Gallegos is going to be the guy for now, and we shall see how he pans out. But Gallegos can be serviceable, and if he could figure it out, he could be a really good closer for you. Guy has good stuff. He just has terrible control. That's Giovanni Gallegos for you.
Yeah, Gallegos is a solid pitcher, and he's closed before. Last year, he had 14 saves. The year before that, he had 14 saves, so he has experience as a closer. As I mentioned, they trust him somewhat. He's not a top-end closer by any means, but, I would consider him, as a top 15, closer when everything's rolling the right way, especially if the Cardinals can right the ship and start winning some games. On the year, Gallegos has a 3.51 ERA. He already has 8 saves, 25 innings pitched, 24 strikeouts, and a 105 whip, a career 0.94 whip for Gallegos, which is very, very good. And he's been well over a K per 9 in his career. So there's upside here. You're talking about a guy that can get up to over a K per 9. The career ERA is a 3.09, so the ERA can come down. And he's been doing it for, 7 years at this point. 285 innings as a reliever is a decent amount of innings. So we kind of know who he is. He's 62% owned on Yahoo. Once again, it's Giovanni Gallegos. And 62% owned for, a closer that could be, a top 15, could sneak into the, I don't want to go higher than top 15, actually. So, for a top 15 closer, 62% owned is kind of low. If he's out there in your league, I think you definitely need to add him. But up next, we do have another closer here for you. It is Daniel Bard, who's actually been a lot better of late, than he was. And I don't know why Daniel Bard is not that owned at 35% owned. I understand that he's, pitching in cores, but I mean, 20 innings on the year, 3 wins. Actually, hold up a second. Do I have my stats right? He actually doesn't have a save yet, but I think, the opportunity is going to be there for Bard with the way that he's been pitching at the moment. They aren't winning a lot of games there, and the games they have won of late, he's been out there at the end of the games. So it kind of shows the initiative where, Pierce Johnson, I believe they announced that he's removed from the closer's role. I think Bard is the next man up, 0.87 ERA. The whip is a little high at a 1.45. 20 innings, 18 Ks, and the 3 wins. I think Bard, you take the speculative chance on him and just see where things go. He's been trusted with saves before there in, Colorado. So I think you definitely take the chance on Daniel Bard if you missed out on a Gallegos and you're really desperate for, someone that could possibly be closing.
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, what's the worst that happens if he's your third closer and he gets you, 1 save a week and helps out your ERA and chips in like 5 steals for the, I mean, not 5 steals, 5 Ks for the week. I'm getting all my stuff backwards. I'm tongue-tied today. But pretty much Bard can be that like, hey, the difference between tying the category or winning the category. He's a desperate play clearly, but at the same time, why not? I mean, he's not going to pitch every game in course. He's not blowing saves, so you kind of can roll him out.
He had 34 saves last year. I forgot to say
Right.
that. He didn't have 34 saves last year.
Right, so he has gotten the job done before, so I'm not mad at rolling out Daniel Bard if I have to. And again, it's a matter of inches. And before we move on, we have a pitcher from Cleveland, one of my boys, and one of Dom's boys coming up, all pitchers here. And I think you guys are in for a great treat. Just hang on real quick while we have this great sponsor for you. All right. So without further ado, let's talk about Mr. Aaron Civale. We've talked about him a couple weeks ago as somebody you need to add, and then before that, somebody you need to stash. We've been talking about Civale this whole time, and here's the reason why, guys. Through 2 starts since he's been up on June 2nd, he went up against Minnesota, 4 Ks, no earned runs, a 1.20 whip. I love it. And then against Boston, 5 innings, got the W, 3 Ks, and a 3.18 ERA with a 1.06 whip. Right now, he hasn't unleashed the Ks yet, but I mean, hey, I think he's got the possibility to get to that K per 9 or right under it, where he can really be, contributing in 4 categories and keeping the low ERA with the K numbers and getting the wins on a team that's kind of middling. Maybe chip in 10 for the rest of the season, which would be really nice for Civale. And quite honestly, I just love the talent. Civale is somebody that could be a force to be reckoned with and just makes that rotation that much more dangerous. So honestly, he's 35% owned here at Locked On. I want all our subscribers here to go and add him if you can, because out of all the names we're going to talk about tonight, except maybe the last guy, that guy's 1B. This is 1A on terms of you must add, because Civale could be the last of the Mohegans of guys be able to pick up for pitching until maybe like one of the prospects get called up. That's on Cleveland as well. So we shall see. Aaron Civale for you.
Yeah, as you guys know, we love us some Aaron Civale. We've been trying to preach to you guys to pick him up for weeks. As Matt said, on the year, his numbers are looking pretty strong so far through 2 starts. And the end of last year, he really, really picked it up through his last, I think it was 6 or 7 starts. He had a great ERA, over a strikeout per 9. The whip looked great. And I think he's a must-add, as Matt said, at 35% owned on Yahoo, definitely a must-add for Civale. But we've talked about Civale so much at this point, and Matt covered him so well, I really don't have much to say. So let's move on to our next guy, somebody that I've been kind of high on of late, and, I think he's finally turning a quarter. It's Brayan Bello of the Red Sox. And, man, this kid, he beat up on the Yankees in his last outing, and he actually gets the Yankees again in his next outing, and Judge still isn't back. Stanton isn't hitting great. Donaldson and LeMahieu aren't hitting great. So there's a lot of opportunity to beat up on our Yankees, unfortunately. As I said, Baio did in his last outing. Wow, he's actually been pretty stellar for a while now. Out of his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 starts, he's been serviceable in 7 of those 8 starts. The numbers on the year are starting to look better because he had a rough start to the year. Baio on the year, 3.78 ERA, 1.34 WHIP, 52 innings, 49 strikeouts. But the kid was one of the top prospects when he got called up last year. So there's a reason, that we like Baio. And let me give you his stats over the last 30 days, because that's where, he's kind of really been shining, to be honest with you. Baio over the last 30 days, 29 innings, a win, 25 strikeouts, 2.79 ERA, 1.14 whip, and 3 quality starts throughout that time. So you want to give Baio the chance before he blows up. 28% owned on Yahoo right now. As I mentioned, he was a highly touted prospect before he got called up. Let me give you that minor league season where he really, had a monster year, and that was in 2022. Baio had 10 wins, 4 losses, 2.34 ERA across 17 starts, 96 innings, 129 strikeouts, and a 1.04 WHIP. So I don't think he's, over his minor league career, a little bit high on the whip, but he's working on the control. So maybe he'll have like a 1-2 whip when all is said and done, but that ERA can come down to maybe, like right under 3 or a low 3s ERA. That K per 9 can get up to around a K per 9 or possibly even over if he gets, his strikeout stuff working. But I think Brayan Bello needs to go from 28% owned closer like to 50 or 60% owned. And if he makes that jump to the next level, man, we're going to be talking about this kid next year as like a top 40, top 45 starting pitcher, in my opinion.
I'm really liking Baio this year. Really showing out here. I really am enjoying his stuff. But sorry, I was getting ready to give you a take for this next guy here, and that's Mr. Braxton Garrett. My guy has been solid. We've been talking about him, I think, for a solid 6 weeks in a row. So, here's the thing. This is
pretty much.
Yeah. He started off where he was a pitch and ditch candidate, right? We weren't sure what he was going to do. Then he slowly worked himself into another pitch and ditch. And then again. And then he was on a must add. And then he's been on must add for the last 3 Thursdays in a row. And he's still only 37% owned. Guys, seriously. Civale, Baio, and Garrett are the guys. Now, the only thing about Garrett is he's the low end tier of all the pitchers because I still don't know who he is. I like his talent. I like him a lot, but he's not matchup proof. Whereas I think the other two can give you, that high end pitching ad. But Garrett has been solid. Through the last month, he has 27 innings pitched. He has 1 win, which, again, it's the Marlins. So, that's just it. That's your plain Jane thing. You're just not getting wins. 33 Ks through 27 innings pitched, a 2.33 ERA, and a .89 whip. Those are solid numbers over a month. I love these numbers. Garrett also is lining up against Washington this weekend on the 17th. Another good matchup. I really like what he's going to bring to the table if you add him. He was able to handle himself against the Sox, the Padres, at Coors Field, at San Francisco, against Cincinnati. Got lit up against Arizona, Atlanta, but then the start right before Atlanta was Atlanta again, and he handled himself against Atlanta. He's not going out there and just, shutting down against really good teams. He's going out there and performing against good teams and having some bad starts against good teams. Braxton Garrett has been, again, not matchup proof, but I am confident that I can roll him out there with, we'll say, middle of the pack matchups. And in a pinch, he's going to get me the Ks, so I'm going to throw him out there in tough matchups as well because I might just need to pitch and ditch, or in this case, just roll him out and get the Ks. Now, one last thing, I know this is a long rant, and I apologize. The reason why Dom said in the beginning of this he was continuing what he did at the end of the year last year, he got the call up in June, and he struggled like all holy hell. He had a 5.24 ERA. In July, he had a 3 ERA. In August, he had a 2.76 ERA. And in September and October, a 3.26 ERA. He also had a K per 9 through July to October. Braxton Garrett is going to be good for you in fantasy. I don't know. He's not going to be elite, but he will be serviceable, and he will be able to help you out in pinches. So definitely add Braxton Garrett.
Yeah, Matt, great coverage on Braxton Garrett. And 2 things that I just want to add before we wrap up. He does go against Washington on June 17th in his next start, so that's definitely a great start. So at minimum, you want to pick up Braxton Garrett for that start and see where things go. But I will say this. If you've been playing fantasy baseball for a little bit, or you're a fantasy baseball fan, or you're just a baseball fan in general, and you've been around for a little bit, I think I have the perfect comp for Braxton Garrett. Another big lefty that, wasn't great at the beginning of his career, Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray, we always, even though he wasn't great at the beginning of his career before he won the Cy Young, he was always serviceable. We always owned him. He always was big strikeouts, and, the ERA wasn't always great, and the whip wasn't always great, but the big strikeouts, always was something that you saw the potential with Robbie Ray. I think, Braxton Garrett is another guy. Hey, same type of thing. The ERA hasn't been great through his first couple of years, and, the whip, the control isn't fantastic either, but he's a big strikeout guy, and Braxton Garrett's 25 years old. I think, by the time, 27, 28, he might have that similar breakout that, Robbie Ray did, where out of nowhere he figures things out and bang, there you go. You have a guy that's going to be top 20 pitcher. But for right now, you kind of just ride the wave with Braxton Garrett and see where things go. But guys, that is all for us for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. And thank you to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And make sure you lock in with us for, a new episode tomorrow where we're talking about the best must-add pitch and ditch players, and we'll throw in some 2-start arms for next week. But until tomorrow, guys,
Peace.